There was a time when your neighbor was just your neighbor. The guy who borrowed a ladder. The woman who watched your dog. The couple who complained about the trash pickup like it was a sport. Now, a yard sign turns into a warning label. A bumper sticker becomes a personality test. And a block party feels like a ceasefire. How do we get from good morning to don't talk to me? How did neighbors become enemies without a single border changing? Stay with me. Because the answer isn't just politics. It's the machinery behind it. Tonight on Shadow States, we're tracing the real story of American polarization, not as a trend, but as a system. We're going to look at how ordinary disagreement turned into social war, how media and platforms reward outrage like a paycheck, and why it now feels impossible to share the same reality even in the same town. This isn't a lecture, it's a case file. And the suspect list is longer than you think. America has always argued. Loudly, sometimes badly. But for a long time, people still had shared spaces that forced contact. You'd see different kinds of people at work, at school events, at local clubs, churches, unions, diners, and neighborhood meetings. You didn't have to agree, you just had to coexist. Back then, politics was often something you had, not something you were. Today, politics can feel like a total identity. And when identity is on the line, every disagreement sounds like an attack. That's when the temperature rises. That's when a neighbor stops being a person and becomes a symbol. Here's the shift. A lot of us didn't just pick positions. We picked teams. And once you pick a team, your brain starts doing the math. My side is decent. Their side is dangerous. My mistakes are exceptions. Their mistakes are the point. This isn't about one party being good and the other being bad. This is about what happens when a country turns disagreement into a moral cage match. Because if your neighbor votes differently, it stops feeling like, I disagree with you. It starts feeling like, I can't trust you. And trust is the foundation of a society. When it cracks, everything above it shakes. Now add the modern accelerant, information bubbles. Not just different opinions, different worlds, different headlines, different facts, different villains. And once people live in separate realities, conversation stops being conversation. It becomes translation, followed by a fight. If you want the cleanest breakdown of how echo chambers get built around you, watch Echo Chambers Explained. It's the blueprint for everything happening here. Here's the part nobody wants on a campaign poster. Outrage is profitable. Anger keeps you watching. Fear keeps you scrolling. Humiliation keeps you sharing. Platforms don't sit around plotting your downfall in a secret basement. They do something simpler and colder. They measure what holds your attention. Then they serve you more of it. And outrage is sticky. It glues your eyes to the screen. So the system learns a terrible lesson. If it shows you content that makes you mad, you stay longer. If you stay longer, it makes more money. If it makes more money, it shows more of that content. That's not politics. That's an incentive structure. And when incentives reward conflict, conflict becomes the product. At the same time, many of the places that used to mix people together got weaker. More people work remotely or move often. More people feel exhausted, stretched, isolated. Local news shrank. Community organizations faded. So what replaced those shared spaces? A feed. And a feed doesn't ask you to be civil. A feed doesn't require you to look someone in the eye. A feed doesn't remind you that the person you're mocking has kids and bills and a bad knee. In real life, there's friction that forces empathy. Online, the friction disappears and cruelty gets easy. In real life, you might argue with your neighbor, then still help jumpstart his car. Online, you win by destroying him, then you go to sleep thinking you did something noble. In the old days, a rumor had to travel by mouth. Now it travels by screenshot. A half-true clip can outrun a full explanation in minutes. A headline can do damage before the first paragraph is read, and here's the trick. Corrections feel boring. Outrage feels urgent. So even when people get the facts later, the emotional imprint stays. They remember how it felt. They remember who they blamed. And slowly, politics becomes less about policy and more about punishment. Not how do we fix it, but how do we hurt the people who caused it? That's the road where neighbors become enemies. If you want the bigger story of how the internet rewired our public life, I go deeper in how social media broke America. It connects the dots. Polarization isn't just noisy, it's expensive. It breaks families into topics you can't mention. It turns holidays into negotiations. It makes coworkers feel like spies. And it makes normal problems harder to solve. Because when a country can't agree on basic reality, it can't agree on basic repair, roads, schools, health costs, housing, crime, immigration, wages. Everything becomes tribal. Even facts become costumes. And the worst part is the way it shrinks your world. You stop saying what you think. You stop asking questions. You stop trusting anyone who isn't already on your side. That's not strength. That's social collapse in slow motion. So what do you do practically when it feels like the country is splitting at the seams? You can't fix the whole machine alone, but you can stop being fueled. Try this. Slow the moment down. If something makes you instantly furious, that's a signal. Pause. Outrage is often designed. Ask one honest question. Not a trap. Not a speech. One real question. What made you feel that way? You're not endorsing them. You're learning the map. Separate people from content. Your neighbor is not a viral clip. Your uncle is not a headline. People are messy. That's normal. Democracy is supposed to handle messy. Build one real-world link. A local group. A volunteer shift. A community meeting. Something offline. Not because it's cute. Because shared life is the antidote to total tribalism. This isn't about being nice. It's about being useful. America didn't wake up one day and decide to hate its neighbors. It got nudged, fed, sorted, monetized. A divided country is easier to sell things to, easier to scare, easier to steer, and harder to unite. In the dark, every shadow looks like an enemy. That's why this channel exists, to turn the lights on, one file at a time,